Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the CineMatch podcast, the show where we take different movies every week and find new ways to debate, compare, and rate them. My name is Callum slash Cal Altimus, depends how close we are.
You said that really awkwardly as if you forgot your name. My name is Callum.
Well,
Hmm?
it's, I said Callum, I was like, well, it's a bit weird referring to myself as Callum. I don't like it. And the man that just rudely interrupted me is the co-host who joins me every single week, or just normal host, as someone thought co-host was a. Is it what's the word? Derogatory? Is it derogatory term?
Yeah, just putting me down because
Yeah.
you're not putting me on your level. You look down on me.
I've been doing that for years, to be fair. But yeah, this is Mr. Nathan Sackle Hannah. Fresh out the shower, looking fresh. How are
Yeah,
you?
fresh haircut, fresh out the shower. Do you know what's really annoying as well? I've swapped my t-shirt, but this morning for painting, I was wearing an old Superman t-shirt, and I just wish I kept that on because what a fucking day.
I was going to mention this actually.
Well, it's tomorrow technically, but oh, I'm excited, baby.
Did you see this that the little hint footage though?
Yes,
Oh man, I've said to Eleanor not to get off topic immediately because we're not talking about Superman today, but that's the film I'm most hyped for next year. I am so excited for Superman.
uh,
Like the poster, the music that accompanied it, the little teaser we saw yesterday, and then the trailer coming, I mean today, and the trailer coming tomorrow. I'm so hyped. Everything I've seen so far has got me really excited.
Yeah, this is a clip with James Gunn just talking about the teaser coming tomorrow as well. And it's got a different version of that music as well. It just sounds so fucking good.
Yeah, and did you
Anyway,
see what he said that he took inspiration from Top Gun Maverick for some of like the fight scenes in there and stuff? That's good enough for me because that was one of my favorite films of the last 5 years. So he's saying all the right words for me.
but not Christmassy.
No, it is not Christmassy.
No, if they made a Superman film set at Christmas, that's like your ultimate.
Oh God, could you imagine? I There's an episode of Smallville that's at Christmas, and
Do
it's
you watch
probably
that
one of
every
my
year?
favorite Christmas TV like episodes ever. I watch it every year. It's called Lexmas.
Of course it is.
Yeah, and it's great. Clark uses his powers to help Santa send presents. Well, not Santa, Chloe, but Santa's also kind of there as he is in all the Christmas ones. But he uses his powers to help Chloe just distribute presents all over Metropolis. And if Superman was real, I'd like to think he'd do that at Christmas time.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's not a Christmas movie. But we are talking about two today because we are finally in the last week of the Christmas period. I'm devastated, as you can imagine. This time next week, to give it all away, we are recording on the 18th. So this time next week is Christmas Day. I'll be back up north with the family. I can't wait. I don't know what you do for Christmas, but I imagine you're looking forward to it too.
With my family, and it'll be my day off after 5 days straight working, so I am looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, so you working Christmas Eve then?
Yeah, yeah, as
No rest
always.
for the
Yeah.
wicked. No rest for the wicked. I'm the same. I'm doing 8 till 12, and then as soon as I finish, we're immediately driving up to Yorkshire just so I can get there to be with my family. But I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, that means this is the last week of Christmas movies, which fucking boo. What a devastating turn of events that is for me. I love Christmas movies. I'm gonna count.
How many you watch?
Yeah, probably after this, I'm going to count it because I was thinking about it earlier. Like, I want to see if I beat last year. I feel like I have already, but we'll see. But this week, as it's the last Christmas episode, as you can see from the title and the Instagram post, we're doing two classics, two movies that have been regarded as some of the greatest Christmas movies of all time, especially to an older generation. We're doing It's a Wonderful Life versus the original Miracle on 34th Street, a movie that was obviously remade in the 90s with Richard Attenborough, which I think most younger
Most people, I
audiences are
think,
more familiar with. Um, but these two are regarded as two of the very best, so we thought save the best till last. Did you know as well, released in back-to-back years? Could you imagine getting movies like that in back-to-back years now? That's fucking great. That is great. This year we got Red One.
oh, you're talking about Christmas movies,
Yeah,
right?
and not just movies in general. It's a large scope. I think we've had
Oh,
years that we've had
you
movies.
just said, can you imagine getting movies back to back? You didn't say
I
Christmas
meant
movies,
Christmas, obviously.
obviously.
That should
I've
have been
not seen
apparent.
Red One, and I can't imagine it's great.
What's that?
Red One, I can't imagine it's great. I've not seen it.
Not very. Not very. No. Um,
No, then again, we did get Terrifier 3.
yes, we did. We absolutely did. And what a movie that is. That's in the shops now. I saw it in the on the shelf the other day on Blu-ray. I was so tempted to buy because that is a great Christmas movie.
But the less we say about that, the
Yeah.
better.
People should watch that themselves and see what they think about the festive vibes going on.
Terrifier 3.
Yeah, great stuff. But yeah, we're doing It's a Wonderful Life versus Miracle on 34th Street. I've made no secret how much I love one of these movies, at least. I've seen both a few times. I've obviously seen the Miracle on 34th Street remake way more, but I have seen it maybe like three or four times now. You'd never seen either, had you?
I'd seen the reboot of Miracle, and I've seen, as my letterbox review suggests, I have seen It's a Very Muppet Christmas, which I know this film
Took
rips off.
inspiration from.
Yeah, yeah. This film took inspiration from Kermit. But I've never seen either of these two specifically. Though obviously I know the story of Miracle on 34th Street. There was a few differences, and I knew what happened kind of in It's a Wonderful Life, but it didn't quite go as I like. It wasn't as I expected it to. So it was a nice surprise.
Yeah, that's interesting then. I said to you before we recorded, I saw your review for It's a Wonderful Life, so I have a feeling how you feel about that, but I didn't see your Miracle on 34th Street one, so I'm interested to know what you thought there. So we might as well get straight into it then. And we shall start with the stories. As I've started doing every week, I'm just going to read the synopsis, and I think it just works better than me rambling. And starting with It's a Wonderful Life. We've got George Bailey has spent his entire life giving to the people of Bedford Falls. All that prevents rich skinflint Mr. Potter from taking over the entire town is George's modest building and loan company. But on Christmas Eve, the business's $8,000 is lost and George's troubles begin. That doesn't really give a lot away, actually. That doesn't
Not
really tell you
really.
what the film's about.
No, not
You have
really.
to expand.
Go on.
Damn, didn't prepare this.
I tell you what, instead of doing that, read the It's a Very Muppet Christmas synopsis.
Should I? Should I see if it actually is anywhere close? A very Muppet Christmas, did you say?
I think it's called A Very Muppet Christmas, yeah.
I don't think it is.
It's a
A Muppet
it's a
Family Christmas?
no, I don't think it's that one. And again, I use my phone to record, so I can't look.
There's quite a few different Muppet Christmas ones, but I'm not sure.
I'm sure it's called It's a Very Muppet Christmas.
Yes, a very merry Muppet Christmas movie. Is that it?
I think so, yes.
The owner of a bank wants to own the Muppet Theatre so she can build a nightclub over it. After she tricks Pepe into giving her the only copy of the contract between her father and the Muppets, she changes it so the Muppets have very little time to pay a debt they owe. Meanwhile, the Muppets are trying to put on a Christmas show. After the Muppets are confronted by Bitterman, they make a lot of sacrifices to save up so they can keep the theatre. Is that the one?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
That
It,
also doesn't sound like it's what neither synopsis sounds like It's a Wonderful Life.
no, Pepe accidentally gives him the contract.
Okay, yeah.
Think he accidentally loses that money.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody's down on hard times, and I can't remember if Kermit tries to kill himself, but I'm gonna rewatch it.
Yeah, that'd be very extreme if they did that in the Muppets. I'd respect him more for it, I think. But yeah, to expand on the It's a Wonderful Life one, then it is about a man called George Bailey who's very selfless and always putting the needs of others first. And he does fall in hard times, and it drives him to consider taking his own life when an angel is sent to show him how he's impacted the lives of others and how important he actually is in the grand scheme of things. Um, on the flip side, taking us over to Miracle on 34th Street, I imagine this one's a bit more captures it quite well. Kris Kringle, seemingly the embodiment of Santa Claus, is asked to portray the jolly old fellow at Macy's following his performance in the Thanksgiving Day parade. His betrayal is so complete that many begin to question if he truly is Santa Claus, while others question his sanity. That's a pretty good synopsis.
I can't remember anybody thinking like meeting him and going, "That's the real one."
I think Fred kind of leaned into it, the lawyer. I think he was vibing.
Yeah, near the end.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he had to convince a few peeps. That's all he had to do.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah, but yeah, I think maybe there's
Nothing
moments.
about nothing about the trial, the main part of the film.
Yeah, which is actually not that long, well, compared to the remake anyway. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's how both stories set out by Letterboxd as well as my little expansion. But I'll let you go first this time. And how did you score that?
And nine. To It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean the story to Miracle on 34th Street is great. It's a classic. It's obviously a classic for a reason. How would people of specifically New York, I think, but how would people react if some guy was walking around saying, "No, I actually am the real Santa"? Like, yeah, of course you'd question it. I do like the twist of, trying to prove he is Santa in the eye of the law. But yeah, it's wonderful. Like, so just to kind of expand on what I said, it wasn't what I expected. I genuinely thought that It's Wonderful Life was like 50%, like half the film. I don't know why I said 50%, then half the film. You know how much 50% is. I hope. I know
Yeah.
you're not.
If not, then Christ. I've got a GCSE in maths, thank you very much. One of my only ones I got.
So three sixths of the film is.
Yeah.
I thought it was half, his life, and then half living in a world where he wasn't. I didn't expect it to be so quick, but I actually kind of enjoyed it more, where you got to see his life more rather than. And I also like the fact that it's framed. It's very. I feel like it's very ahead of its time for what 1946.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got a very like meta out angels looking at. So you're looking at flashbacks throughout his life, but it's actually just angels going through, like looking at his life, through angel eyes, because obviously, and discussing why this person is needed down to save him and all that kind of stuff. And you kind of got the opening with the not to spoil the next category, but the opening with like opening at the end and then kind of going back and then getting back there to then carry on in this alternate. I just think it's really, really good. Having that having that story of George have um, these big, like, you can see the seeds being planted of why he would start to not like the position in his life and why he would be happy to kind of have it back, because everything he wants to do gets pushed to the side in favor of other people. But you can also see, as it's happening, all the good that he's doing, how appreciated he is, even in the rough times and all that. So I think overall, it's just a stronger story. A very, very character, both are very character based, but like it really is like hones in really deeply on George's character, and I really love that about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I went 10-9 in favor of It's a Wonderful Life as well because, like you said, it is very ahead of its time with the way the story is told and the way the narrative unfolds, opening the way it does, and then we see like it's like essentially like the best or worst bits of his life playing out, and the way they build it up to the end when he needs saving and he is that like the end of his rope. I think it's better because I was like you, I thought it was going to be more 50-50 or 7-14ths. Like his life and then when the angels come. But I think the fact it's we see more of him beforehand and we see his life and we spend more time with that part of the movie, it feels more earned when he's really driven to the edge like he is. I think we see over and over the way he puts other people first, and it also makes no bones at hiding that some of it bothers him. Like it really makes it clear he doesn't want to be doing what he's doing, but he keeps making those sacrifices for other people. Like when his brother comes back and they're supposed to swap now, his brother's supposed to take over at the building and loan, but then he's got this job offer somewhere else, and you can see how devastated he is, but he accepts it for his brother's sake. Like I think they do a good job really portraying like who the man is before we see how it eventually like costs him greatly, and then obviously the great redemption with the very like it's not a Christmas Carol, but it feels very like Christmas Carol-esque. Like there's clearly an inspiration on the final segment with the angel showing him what life would be like without him. Miracle on 34th Street one is it is good. It's entertaining. I mean, it's so good that it got remade. I like all the bits with the skeptics and how he's got to try convince them, and the moments, especially with the little girl, Susan, played by Natalie Wood, like how she is the way she's raised to not believe, but then his charm works on her and she starts to like doubt what she's been told before. Like I do like the story and the stuff where he has to prove himself is really good, like in the court and stuff. I mean, it's so absurd, but it's like entertaining. I think not to step on the ending, but like the logic in how they come to realize is a bit flawed, especially compared to the remake. I think the remake does that bit a little bit better, but otherwise it's a strong story. But It's a Wonderful Life is something that's been like ripped off so many times in the years since, like so many different franchises, TV shows, movies, like so many different like venues have taken inspiration from that story, and some of the time they've just straight up parodied it. over and over. And that's just a testament to how good it was, and I love it.
I agree with that.
I actually remember the first time I watched it, and it was like I think I sat through like the first portion, and I was like, "This is good. I can see why people like this, but I don't see this as like one of the greatest Christmas movies ever." And then when it actually got to the angel stuff, I was like, "This is one of the best things I've ever seen." And then every year I've watched since, I like the first section more and more and more, and now it's just like all of it's just I think it's all incredible. So we'll move
Yeah,
on then.
I can see probably that kind of feeling for me as well.
Yeah.
When you said one big inspiration that I saw directly relating to It's Wonderful Life, which I didn't really expect to see when I was watching it, and when it came on, I was like, "Oh shit, that's Back to the Future too." When he turns up and it's all like strip joints and like poker clubs and dance like late night bars and everything, I was like, "Shit, it literally is just Back to the fucking Future too."
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know how I feel about that franchise, so it ties in perfectly for me.
That's true. That is true.
So we'll move on then to the openings then. We've already touched on the It's Wonderful Life one a little bit because that movie opens quite interesting, really. We actually see it's like we hear these. It's set kind of at the end of the movie when George is like really at his worst, and we hear all these different voices like praying for him and praying for like God to send help, and then we see these like stars in the sky, which are the angels, but like obviously it's 1946. There was not going to be no elaborate CGI going on. So we just see these like stars interacting and they explain the situation about George and how this is his like critical night and this is when he needs saving. And we get this angel Clarence summoned, who is then informed about everything and told that this is going to be his mission. And then it cuts into an introduction to George Bailey as a child. And then from there we see like throughout it, it's like his life story. On the other side, Miracle on 34th Street, it's a little bit more like straightforward. Like the opening credits play as he's just like strolling through the streets of New York, and then we're quickly told who Kris Kringle is by when he stops the shop worker who's putting together the Christmas display, and he stops him to tell him that he's like setting the reindeer wrong, and he starts talking to him like he's Santa, and you can see this guy's eyes just like wide and like he's like quite like nervous. He doesn't know, he thinks he's talking to a nut job. You even see him like lock the door behind him as he turns away, which I think is really funny. And then he ends up at the Thanksgiving Day parade where he encounters the drunk Santa and ends up taking over. So it's a little bit more straightforward, but it dives right into the story quite quickly, which I think, especially for movies known for being so slow paced back then, I think it breaks that tradition. It's quite fast into getting into things. Um, but I'll go first now, and I'll say again, I went 10-9 in favor of It's a Wonderful Life because, like we said, that opening felt like ahead of its time. Like it's not something you'd expect from movies all the way back then. Um, and I love hearing these different characters who we eventually meet. Expect like people like some of them don't even show up till like towards the end of the movie, but you hear these voices and you get without even seeing meeting George Bailey the sort of person he is and how much he means to everyone. And I just think it's really good. And then having it go all the way back to the beginning of his childhood. I think it's really clever and well done. And I mean, I don't even know what to say else about it. This is one of my favorite films ever. I love it all, and I think the opening's great. I do like the Miracle on 34th Street one, but I don't think it compares.
I think the Miracle on 34th Street one is a great introduction to him as Santa, as Kris Kringle, um, because it's so honest and sweet and whimsical as well. Like really, just a great look at who we're going to be spending time with. And you also can watch it and kind of have that. You immediately believe that is obviously Santa, but then you can also believe why people would think he's nuts because it's New York and that kind of biz. And then going up to the float, again, you see that kind of kind-hearted nature of him. You get that of, well, this is how I would imagine Santa would act when he's speaking to the guy and he's talking about how important it is for the kids and stuff like that. Even trying to help him first before he even realizes that he's having a drink. But that being said, yeah, 10-9 towards It's Wonderful Life because, like we said, it was ahead of its time. It feels very modern in a way, and I really like the at first, I was like, "Well, this is a bit weird," because I didn't know there was angels at all. I just thought it was. I don't really know what I thought it was going to be a dream or like a Christmas Carol, like I say, a Christmas Carol situation. So the angels being like galaxies that just lit up when they spoke and stuff, like really just. threw me for a little bit, but then when I kind of got into it, I was like, oh no, I really like this. It's got that like classic fairy tale style of storytelling with a, I say modern, but obviously the fault is kind of film. Um, but yeah, again, nothing I can expand on that you've not already said at length in the past and now, because it is just a great opening. And again, you get all these great looks into George as a car. I don't know how far you want to go up, but I think um, that second flashback when he working in the store and you've got the two girls and you've got the guy in the back who accidentally puts poison in the capsules and all that kind of stuff. Just a really great look at how good he is as a person from day one, essentially. And I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, and I think that bit as well also sets up his relationship with Mary later, who's obviously in there as a child, when she whispers in his dodgy ear that she'll love him forever, and that obviously shows like, as well as like we see throughout the movie how his struggles build up and by the end it feels earned when he needs the help and he like is pushed to the edge. I feel like this shows us how long in the making like their relationship kind of was as well, because like even like a further flash forward is them just as she's leaving school, and then it's like a couple more years before they eventually get together, so that also kind of builds up as well. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
just, it's not just like a meet cute where they meet one day and they just fall in love. It's like, no, these guys have kind of been in each other's lives for years and years, so I really like that as well.
yeah,
uh, so we'll move on to the endings then.
okay,
I think for the It's a Wonderful Life ending, I feel like you've kind of got to do the whole Angels section.
yeah. And I think for the Miracle on 34th Street, you kind of got to do the whole final day of the court.
Yeah. Because it's like, it's kind of the main event to both movies, really. Like, this is what they're sold on, and this is what people think of when they think of these movies. Um, so the ending of It's a Wonderful Life shows George's life essentially fall apart when his uncle Billy loses $8,000 from the building and loan that he runs. And then the police are after him. He kind of just loses his cool and he has this big clash with his family and he's on a bridge contemplating suicide. And that's when Clarence the Angel sent to him, and then Clarence dives in the water and says to George saves him. Which I also, not to step on my answer in a bit, but I think is a wonderful callback to the beginning when he saves his brother from drowning. He now
Yeah,
saves Clarence at the end to stop him. And Clarence shows him what life would be like for the people he knows if he wasn't around. So we see that the doctor that you were just mentioned did go on to poison someone because George wasn't there to stop him. So he went to prison and is now like despised by the entire town. He's like an outcast. We see George's brother Harry didn't survive because George was the one that saved him when he fell into the frozen lake at the beginning. And as a result, all these soldiers in the war died as well. We see Mary's life is vastly different. We see um, all the people George helped are just like, like even including like his uncle who ended up in like a mental asylum. Like all the different people he had this impact on, and he was not quite aware that he's doing it. It's the message is essentially like you don't realize how important you are to the people around you. Even the littlest things that you do impact so many different people. And he sees all that, and eventually he wants to live again. He misses his family. He wants to be back where he was. He appreciates what he had. And then we get the ending where he returns home and is confronted by like almost the entire town who have found out about his struggles, and they're all bringing money and they're all saving the day. And it's probably like one of the most emotional endings in any movie I've ever seen. And I think it's iconic. That's probably the bit a lot of people remember, like especially the line that his daughter Zuzu says when about the angel getting its wings when the bell rings. Like it's gone down in like movie history. And then on the other side, you've got Miracle on 34th Street, where it's the final day of the court case.
I'm sorry, but when you were talking about it's wonderful life for ages, you got this like proper like oomph in your voice, and you just said, and then you got Miracle on 34th Street.
That's I didn't mean to do that's not that wasn't intentional. But you've got Miracle on 34th Street. Is that better?
Yeah,
But yeah, you've got the final day of the court case where they're trying to prove that Kris Kringle is in fact Santa because he attacked one of the Macy's employees, sorry, with his cane, and then was eventually put into Bellevue Mental Hospital where he purposely failed his um examination because he felt like Doris was in on it and she didn't believe in him and he felt betrayed. But then Fred, who has been like in and around the Walker family, decides to help him in the court case and prove that he is Santa. And we get all these like funny interactions there in the court where they're trying to like justify that this man isn't insane and he is actually Santa. And it all boils down to these letters that have been mailed to addressed to Santa Claus that were brought to Kris Kringle. And Fred's argument is that like if the postal office seems to think that Santa's real, then who are you guys to say otherwise? And the judge is just like, yeah, no worries. Like it's very like I think I mean I won't say my answer yet. Like I won't explain it yet, but
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got feelings on it.
Don't give that one away. Yeah.
No, I've not. I've got feelings on it, but I'll let you go first this time. It's your turn. So how did you score that?
I'm going to upset you,
Oh yeah.
and probably, but I think It's a Wonderful Life goes a lot. I don't feel like that last bit with the alternate world. I don't really know what to call it. The alternate world is as impactful as I expected it to be. Because, like I said, I thought it was going to be more 50-50. Um, and it all just happens really, really quick. Like he kind of realizes he can hear, and then he goes to the bar. He can't find his car. Then he goes to the bar, realizes two people he knows aren't the same kind of people anymore. One's an arsehole and one's a hobo. And then he kind of just goes into the town, and it's all changed. His wife don't know him, and then it's just kind of he finds his brother's grave, and then it's just kind of over. And it seems to go really, really quickly. Um, and it feels kind of rushed in a way that he needs to get back. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't really like that kind of fantastical element of it back in the day, so they wanted to get back to reality or whatever. Yeah. But I just feel like it felt really, really rushed. Um, but that being said, I'm still going 10-9 in favour. It's a Wonderful Life because it is a better ending. I do
Well, as
still,
long as that was the response that came out of your mouth, I was fine.
I do still really like. I mean, I do really love the ending, and I think it's perfect. Like outside of that rush feeling, I think that's just because of my expectations of it. It felt like I still letterbox 4.5 stars. It's still, I think, a fantastic film that I feel like I've missed out on for so long. But I think because of my own expectations, it rushed by a lot quicker than I expected it to. Um, I really do enjoy Miracle on 34th Street's ending as well. But the only reason it didn't win over, I think if I genuinely think if it had the same explanation as the remake, so in the remake it's the dollar bill, and it says "In God We Trust," and as an institution, America believes in God and it's put on the money and everything, and there's no proof of God. Um, Whereas obviously in this, it's just the mail service. And I spoke to somebody about it today, and they pointed out to me that it's at that time it's all very Americana, where the postal service is like no matter what happens, the postal service is the strength, it's the backbone of the country kind of thing. So I kind of get it from that point of view. Now I've kind of talked about it, but even with all of that, I think having the judge basically be told you've got to say he is Santa Claus because if you say he isn't, we're fucked, mate. Like it kind of takes away from it a little bit. Like knowing that the judge is in the remake is more of a it's more of a people are going to think I'm fucking nuts for taking this case, and people are going to think I'm nuts if I say Santa is real. Whereas this one, it's very much a I can't go out there and tell everybody that Santa's not real. So it feels like he's not really much of a conflict other than the judge being backed into a corner with the evidence. But yeah, I think It's a Wonderful Life, classic. I did get teared up when all the people started dropping the money on, and then the auditor guy put a bit of money out himself and put it in there. That did get me. Something that somebody pointed out to me today that I didn't notice while I was watching because I was being emotional. The only downside to It's a Wonderful Life is that Potter didn't get any kind of fucking comeuppance for stealing money at all.
Yeah, I said
And
that
he's
to Eleanor when we because we watched it in the cinema a few weeks ago. That I got to watch it. It was one of my favorite experiences in a movie theater in a long time. But I got to watch it on the big screen at the start of the month, and I said to Ellen that afterwards, like, I just wish he got some sort of like comeuppance and there was some justice served towards him because he was just a horrible piece of shit that just stole money and got away with it.
Yeah, but I guess this. I mean, think about it. I guess the story's not about him or it's not about revenge or anything like that. It's just a story of how good of a person George is, despite I say hardships. It's hardships on him because he didn't live the life that he thought he was going to like. He didn't get what he expected. Almost like me with my review of It's a Wonderful Life. I thought it's such an odd life for me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, um, but yeah, no, I did like even at the end of his rope, about to like commit suicide and kill himself. He saw somebody fall in, and his good nature couldn't stop himself. He still like didn't hesitate, just jumped straight in into a freezing cold river just to help somebody. So yeah, no, I think stronger ending. I was a bit disappointed because obviously it wasn't what I expected, but that's on me, not on the film.
Yeah, I actually went quite strong on this and I went 10-8 in favor of It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, I feel like
Because
that. I feel like you're playing the game with that one. Not that it's.
no, I think if
I don't
this
think you need
was
to. Miracle on 34th Street is already on the ground.
I feel like if this was like you said the remake and it had the explanation that that does where they put this trust in a god where there's no evidence, so why can't they do the same for this Santa? Like I feel like that like conclusion works so much better than just oh look at all these letters and it's like and also like you said it's like a bargaining chip where he's told if you agree that his Santa it will help your case for re-election and stuff like it feels like he's not convinced whereas I feel like in the other one the judge is like they convince him to accept and what Kris
Yeah,
Kringle
in
is
the movie,
saying.
you get that like good moment where he kind of declares it like from the
Yeah.
like gut, whereas this one it's just kind of like, yep, okay, cool.
Yeah, it feels almost a bit anticlimactic where I really obviously love the ending of It's a Wonderful Life. And like I said, the first time I watched it, that was what really pushed the movie over the edge for me. Um, I get what you're saying about like the moments where he does see what life is like without him because it is very fleeting and we only see a few moments with like Mary outside the library, his mum, when he shows up at the house and finds out where his uncle is. The moment in the bar when he's with Clarence and the bartender doesn't recognize him and the old man stumbles in and everyone tells him to get the fuck out essentially. And then he shows up at his old house and it's the ruins and he talks to the police officer and the cab driver who know him but don't recognize him. I think the only reasons I like those moments more is I think Clarence is fucking great. And I think obviously that's the only real time that we get to see him in the movie, but he has so much fun in those. Like the moment in when he's first saved and he's talking to George in that little cabin and he keeps like dropping these hints of how old he is and you see the guy that runs it in the background's eyes just keep like widening. Like I think that stuff's really good. And then that final moment when he does come back and we see him running down the street saying Merry Christmas to everyone and saying it to like the coffee house, this movie theater and he's like and he says it to his old building and lawn and even Mr. Potter, which I think is a really funny one when he says Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter, and he's like Merry Christmas to you too in jail. Like even then he's still miserable old fart. Um, but the stuff when he finally gets home and he goes to see and he sees the men there that are waiting to like essentially arrest him, but he's not even that bothered. Like he knows what's coming, but he's just so happy to see his family again. And then he's saved with all these people showing up who love him and want to help. And like you said, the moment where the guy that's actually come to take away even donates a little money himself, I think is such a funny touch. And then Harry returns and says that his brother's the richest man in town, and he's done obviously there's the money, so it's that in a sense, but it's also like the love that people have for him. Like he's got all these people that adore him, and then it ends with the Old Lang Syne playing and his daughter pointing out the tree, the bell ringing means an angel's got wings, and he like looks up to Clarence, and he gets the card from him that says the iconic line, which I think is like I actually wrote it down. Let me find it real quick.
It's the book, isn't it? Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, and he writes the line inside it um, about no man is a failure who has friends, and I think that's such an important. That's like what the message of the movie is, because George feels like he's failed in life, and it's like, no, look at all these people. Like, look how much you mean to all these people. How could you possibly have failed when you've built these connections?
Is
Um,
this one call me a failure all the time because I've got no friends?
yeah, you fail all the time. You've not succeeded a day in your life yet. Yeah, I cry a lot at the ending of that movie. So it would have been impossible for me to go against. I think it's one of my favorite endings in not even just Christmas movies, in movies in general. Like just
Yeah.
even just that final 5 minutes in the house with all the people showing up. I think it's so well done. Like I just love it. And
No, it
every
is.
time I hear that Old Lang Syne song now, that's all I ever think about is "It's a Wonderful Life."
or When Harry Met Sally.
See, I don't. Even watching When Harry Met Sally played, I thought of It's a Wonderful Life whilst watching When Harry Met Sally. Like it's synonymous with the ending of It's a Wonderful Life for me now. Um, so yeah, 10-8.
That's fair.
We'll move on then to the casts. Not
I, w- I wonder which way you're gonna go.
they're not cast that like looking at them, it's not obviously these two movies are from the 40s, so it's not a group of actors that many people these days will be familiar with, but you've got obviously in It's Wonderful, you've got James Stewart, you've got Donna Reed who plays his wife Mary, you've got Lionel Barrymore, who I feel like he's like a relation to Drew Barrymore, and I can't remember how. I read it somewhere recently. He's
No,
like an older relation to Drew Barrymore. He plays Mr. Potter. Henry Travers plays Clarence. Thomas Mitchell plays Uncle Billy. You've got Todd Carnes as Harry, George's brother. Um, and then on the flip side, you've got Edmund Gwenn as Kris Kringle. Maureen O'Hara as Doris
you did
Wilson.
it. You did it again. Really enthusiastically talked about It's Wonderful Life, people. Then when you went, and then you got Edmund Gwenn, Stunter.
See, I didn't mean it. That's not on purpose because I actually like the cast of Miracle on 34th Street. Like, it's got Natalie Wood, who played Susan, who obviously went on to do some bigger things years later, but this is like one of her first roles. And Maureen O'Hara's a very famous actress from back then who I like. You've got John Payne as Fred Gailey, the lawyer. Um,
Mhm.
Porter Hall, who played the Grantville Sawyer, he's called. He was like the employee that got hit on the head.
Yeah.
Jerome Cowan plays the Thomas Mara, the guy that's like trying to get Santa like sectioned, and then I've got Gene Lockhart as the judge, Henry X Harper, which strange name. I don't know why he felt the need to include X as a judge. Just go Henry Harper. Have some class about you. I don't need X. This ain't extreme, pal. Um, so yeah, both solid casts, but nowadays not the most noteworthy or familiar. But
No.
this was only good. This It's a Wonderful Life could have been like Castaway, and it could have been one man on his own. And if it was James Stewart, it was winning for me. So I went 10-9 in favour of It's a Wonderful Life because I mean, I imagine I've said this before on here, but James Stewart's my favourite actor of all time.
You have said that.
Yeah, I love him like a lot. And I think no one could have played George Bailey quite like he could. I think he was like the perfect person to play the role. And it's like at the perfect time of his career as well, because this was like immediately after he came back from World War II, and it was like the first role he took afterwards. And like years and years later, it was still like his favorite film that he ever did. Like it meant so much to him, and you can see that in like the work he does. I think Donna Reed as Mary is just what a woman.
I mean, yeah.
She is like stunning. Like, and the chemistry between those two, I think, so good. Like one of my favorite scenes, and I share it every time I see it on Instagram. So just listen to my story as we speak. Is when he says he'll give her the moon.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I love that so much. And it's not even just when he says, I'll give you the moon mirror. It's like her response, I think, is perfect for her character, where she just like, she lets her know, she was like, yeah, I'll take it. Like, I just think it's great. And the moment when she's on the phone to the Sam Wainwright, their friend in New York, who's kind of courting her at the same time. And like just the chemistry between those two, like, is just incredible. I think they were so well paired together. The rest of the cast is great as well. Like Lionel Barrymore as Mr. Potter's awesome. Like he's so despisable, and he does such a good job playing like that evil bastard. And I've already just mentioned how much I love Clarence. Henry Travers is only in it for a brief moment. We hear his voice earlier on, but we only really see him at the end. And I think he's so good. But the rest of the cast is great as well. I think like all the kids do a solid job when they come in. Even like young George at the beginning, like because he gets a chance to shine when he gets emotional and he's crying. I think he's a really talented young actor. I just think everyone was great.
You
It's
say he's
not
a talented young actor. He's probably dead now.
he did. I think he said he was a talented young actor, didn't I? Was.
He said he's
Uh,
luckily you can't prove anything because nothing's recorded.
yeah. Well, he was a talented young actor. Probably is dead now. Bless him. This was 78 years ago. That's grim. Um, But it is hard because on the other side, Miracle on 34th Street, Edmund Gwenn actually won an Oscar for his performance in this movie. Like he actually won Best Supporting Actor. So it's like, yeah, I don't want to discredit him because I think he's great. But we'd ended up seeing Richard Attenborough play the role, and I think that version is someone that a lot of people count as their favorite version of Santa. So it's not like he was only like replaced, but to some people they prefer it, and I don't know if I do, but I do love Richard Attenborough in the role. the rest of the cast is great as well. Like, don't get me wrong, but like Natalie Wood as Susan, I think is like really good. I think it's like a really good child performance. Like the moment when she says, I believe," it's silly, but I believe." I think that just captures who she is so well. But yeah, it's a Wonderful Life. I just got my words muddled up, then that was weird. And James Stewart is my goat.
I struggle a lot with this one because I think everybody in both films are fantastic at everything they do. Like, Edwin Gwen is a fantastic Santa, and I really, really loved him. Like even in the moments where he just acts like a regular guy, and you don't like we talked about last week with David Harbour as Santa. Like you kind of saw a different side of him, like a bad Santa, but not like bad as in like an arsehole, like bad as in just fed up. Like this week, you kind of got a Santa that's just a guy. No, he's come round to the house and we'll have a Christmas party. Let's just have dinner and all that kind of stuff. Let's just have like eat lunch at a lunch table, which I really love that scene. Um, he gets frustrated when people tell his friends they can't do stuff and that kind of thing. Like he's just a regular guy with that extra sprinkle of Santa in there. Um, and I mean, I'm not as much of an old film fan as you, so every other name didn't really mean much to me. But I know that everybody's performance. I feel like everybody's performance was really, really good. The little girl, like you said, brilliant. Really, really encapsulated that feel of night. I don't believe there's no wonder there. It's just I'm slowly growing to trust you, but she's always a bit guarded. Whereas in the newer one, the girl that what's her name who played Matilda, I can't
Is it
remember,
Maya Wilson or Mara Wilson?
something like that. Like in that one, she's always got that little bit of wonder in her eyes, like, oh, maybe this is. But in this one, it is very like, I don't trust you until I finally got what I want, kind of thing. So I think it's very different, and I really liked all of the cast in it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be a landslide, but 10-9 to It's a Wonderful Life because everybody in that film, even the big characters that's got big person, the only person that really fucking annoyed me, and I can't remember his name, and it's the guy that kept turning up and doing that hee haw. Really
Oh
fucking
yeah.
hate him. Really hate him just because of that. It's fucking annoying. But outside of that, everybody was great. Potter was. You just despised him, and wasn't like he was a bit mustache twirly, but he was also like you could probably believe it for that time. Just an arsehole businessman, and all the family were brilliant. Yeah, I actually made a note of it as well. That the young George Bailey in the store was probably the best performance of the film, if like in all honesty. Um, and and then old George Bailey, obviously, running down the street is classic, iconic, and just really, really good. Yeah, just everybody spot everything you said. Really, it's a landslide. It's probably the first landslide episode we've had in a long, long time.
Yeah.
But I think just both casts are really, really good in in the films that they're in. But everything in Miracle on 34th Street's a little bit calmer, a little bit more muted. Whereas even though I feel it's a bit over the top in It's a Wonderful Life, I feel like it's needed because it's a little bit more fantastical, even though it is not supposed to be. It feels a bit more fantastical. It's more romantic. It's a romantic kind of film. So yeah.
Yeah. We'll move on then to our last traditional category. For the final time, we're doing this one.
Till
God,
next
I'm
year.
gonna get emotional. Um, so that is the most. Which movie had the most like Christmas feeling? Like which one embodied the Christmas spirit more? Um,
Which I was thinking about it while I was in shower, and I was thinking, It's Wonderful Life doesn't feel like a Christmas film until the last 10-15 minutes. And even though Miracle on 34th Street is very much set at Christmas, it's also just about the workplace and a court drama.
yeah,
So it like even like these two very traditional Christmas films don't feel overly Christmassy in their stories.
yeah, yeah. So I'm glad you said that because you're up first. So I want to see how you scored it now.
Well, to give it absolute no chance whatsoever. I did actually go 10-9 in favor of Miracle on 34th Street this time because, I mean, it's Santa. It's set at Christmas, like the entire thing set at Christmas. The film opens up with talking about like the reindeer and the order they go in and Santa in general. Like even like the moment, every kind of moment is based on the idea of do we believe that this guy is Santa or not, and it's that kind of you know faith versus fact and all that kind of thing. All the way up into the court drama. So, like I say, even though it's like you go to a mental institution and it's a court drama and all that kind of stuff, story wise, it doesn't feel very Christmassy. But at its heart, it is all about proving the Christmas spirit, the faith in things that you can't quantify and all that kind of thing. So I do think it is overall. Plus, obviously Santa and the parade and gift giving and buying and all that kind of biz, Christmas trees. Whereas I think It's a Wonderful Life is very much not a Christmas film until the end. I think it's a film that ends with its setting at Christmas. I get why people say it's a Christmas film because obviously it's about learning the value of the things you have in your life and the people around you. And that's all very much within the Christmas spirit. But I don't think having the ending set at Christmas in the snow, okay, fair enough, looks very Christmassy. But I don't think having the ending set at that point just automatically makes it a Christmas movie. I will say it's a Christmas movie. I don't disagree with that, but I don't feel like it feels as Christmassy as Miracle.
Yeah. I
You're
actually
going to go with It's a Wonderful
agree.
Life.
No, I'm not.
Fucking hell.
I went with Miracle on 34th Street as well because, like you said, like I like how they did It's a Wonderful Life with the majority of the story actually just following George's life through different moments. But as a result of that, there's not much of this film that takes place at Christmas. It is like you said, only the very end is Christmas time, and I think the very end is very Christmassy. Like when he's running in the snow, wishing Merry Christmas to everyone, and then with the tree and like the song and stuff, I think it's like incredibly Christmassy. But up until that moment, you could say it's any time of year.
Yeah, does it balance it out kind of thing?
Yeah,
I think if the flashbacks was all about the different Christmases he's had throughout the year and how that built up, it probably would have made it more Christmassy. But then you just get into Christmas Carol kind of territory. So
yeah. And the beginning kind of like you kind of think that's where it's heading because the very first flashback we see is him and his like friends messing around on the frozen lake, so it's clearly winter then. So it
yeah,
does like for a minute it looks like that's where it's going, but then a lot of the movie it's clearly like the summer, like when they go to the dance and George and Mary are walking through the street, like it must be warm weather at that time because they're like wearing some very like I think they got wet so they had to put on what they could, but it's like not very like thick clothing, like it would be freezing otherwise. And she ends up naked, so unless she caught hypothermia and we don't know,
that
it
is
must be
very true.
summer. Um, but yeah, it's hard because Miracle on 34th Street is a film about Santa. It's about a man proving he's Santa, and like I get what you mean by like there's all these moments that don't feel Christmassy, like with the large focus on the company and the court case, but there are also moments when he's like performing as Santa and he like speaks Dutch with the young Dutch orphan and he recommends that lady goes to a certain store to find the toys and stuff because they don't have it. I think that stuff works well because he is like being the mall Santa. Um, and then the ending with the where they go to the house after the party on Christmas Eve and the walking sticks there and he's like gifted them a house, which I think is such a bizarre ending, but it just feels a bit more Christmassy. And I think the character as well is so optimistic and joyful that he feels Christmassy in himself. So yeah, I went 10-9 in favor of Miracle on 34th Street, which is probably a good thing because otherwise we were edging dangerously towards a whitewash, and I don't know if we've ever had one of them. Um, so yeah, that brings our final category to an end. So now it's time for the surprise categories. And last week I got to go first and really screwed you over because it was the one you had, and then you had to spend like 10 minutes waiting for a new one. So this time it's your turn to go first. What have you got?
I I really struggled to think of a question.
So did I actually.
Yeah, so I'm bringing back an old category we used to do before we came back, and I kind of feel like I know where your head is going to go. But which of the two films, because both of them have very strong legacies, which of the two films has the strongest legacy? So obviously you've got It's a Wonderful Life, which is obviously inspired lots of stories. It's inspired lots of parodies. It's got a remake coming out next year, I believe, or is it this year
Yeah.
that it's supposed to
I
come out?
know earlier this year it went into development, but I don't know when it actually will be released. There's going to
Who
be
was it?
an all black cast as well, which will be interesting.
No.
It's going to
Why
put
would that,
a different spin on it
why would that be interesting?
because it's just not a shot for shot remake, is it? It's giving a classic to a new generation and a group of people that might have felt overlooked in the 1940s.
Is it going to take place in the 40s as well?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I don't know
No.
the details, but I can't imagine so.
Um, it nearly had it didn't actually get a sequel, did it? But it nearly had a sequel. It did have a spin-off film with the Angel, though, didn't it?
But Clarence,
Yeah,
did it?
I think so.
All I know is the Very Merry Muppet Christmas was clearly a spin-off.
I thought, I read that Clarence had his own film afterwards, or there
I'm
was
going to have
planned.
to quickly look that up because that's the first I've heard of that. That
Yeah,
would
and
be quite incredible if Clarence was just putting
the
about.
sequel was supposed to be about the daughter, and then the spin-off was called Clarence, and it was about him. But while you're talking about that, obviously, Miracle on 34th Street, um, obviously had such an impact, and obviously was very much a classic for years and years and years until they remade it and created not not. I mean, when you go back and remake a very classic film like this, most people will say, "Why would you do that? You didn't need to do that. The original is always going to be better." But somehow, in doing it, created two of the most classic films of all time. So the reboot even became a classic in itself for a modern generation. So both have really strong legacies. Did it come out? Was it Clarence? Did it come out?
There is a film called Clarence that's a spin-off, but it came out in the ni 1990s, so it's not the same guy.
Right. Okay.
It's
So
did you ever watch Lizzie McGuire?
was it Liz McGuire that played
Yeah.
Clarence?
Yeah, I'm not sure how old Hilary Duff was in 1990, but she played Clarence. No, it's the guy that played her dad in Lizzie McGuire. He
Nah,
Robert Carradine played Clarence
no.
in 1990 spin-off.
One of
I'm not sure we needed a prequel about Clarence, but there you go. Hollywood is
them.
anything.
But yeah, both have got really strong legacies. So I've only kind of got a relationship with Miracle on 34th Street. Actually, no, I haven't because Very Merry Muppet Christmas. So I didn't really think of my answer when I'm going into this question, but I'm going to say that It's a Wonderful Life probably has had more of a legacy. I think a lot of everybody kind of knows that film as the classic Christmas movie, like one of the classic Christmas movies. I think with Miracle on 34th Street, it is known as a classic Christmas movie. But I would say most people prefer the newer one. Even people that like the original or love the original prefer the newer one. I know I do. Whereas I think watching this, there was just lots of like, oh, that's where that comes from. Oh, that's where that line's from. Oh, that's where this bit's from. Oh, that's where that running through the streets from, and all that kind of stuff. So I went with not to because I think it's struggling this episode. I want to give it a point to It's a Wonderful Life. Um, but I have never seen it before. I watched it for the first time for this episode this week, and yeah, now I think I'll probably watch it every year at Christmas.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I obviously went to
Yeah, yeah.
favorite It's a Wonderful Life because obviously, no, I think like you, it's one of those movies that you're told repeatedly is one of the best ever, and then when you finally sit down for it, you're like, can this possibly live up to what everyone says? But I mean, for me,
Like like Godzilla.
yeah, which one?
Any.
Any, just any one of them. Yeah, no worries. Even the ones that you defo rated like 2 stars or 1 star.
Look,
Um,
even a two-star Godzilla film is better than a
it's better than
any,
the
any other.
Godfather.
Yeah, the Godzilla.
Um, but yeah, it somehow lived up to all the lofty expectations, which I think is a testament to how good it was. And the fact, like I said, we're now 78 years later and people still watch this movie every single year. Where,
Yeah,
like you said, I think with the remake of Miracle on 34th Street in the 90s, there is a generation that probably don't bother with the original anymore. They prefer the 90s because a lot of people don't like old movies, black and white. They like to watch more modern iterations of these stories. So that's probably played a part in it as well. But I think the remakes probably hurt the original in the sense that its legacy has diminished as generations have got younger. Like
Yeah.
as the years have gone by, it's revisited by less and less people. I still quite like it, but yeah, I
Yeah,
prefer the remake as well.
I mean, I prefer the Muppet version of It's a Wonderful Life, but whatever. In where like because they use stock footage of like a background of New York for when Kermit sat down, like contemplating like wanting to go back to his original life. And in the background, because they've used stock footage, the Twin Towers are still there, and it was made in like 2005 or six or something. So there's like a massive internet theory in that if Kermit's somehow directly related to 9/11, because if Kermit was never born, the Twin Towers would still be there.
See, I honestly thought you were going to say it was stock footage, so in the background, the Twin Towers were just going down. That's honestly what I thought you was going to say. Then I was like, Jesus, this sounds like a film I need to watch.
No.
But yeah, I think it's hard to discount the legacy of It's a Wonderful Life. And I know obviously there is a new one coming, and I'll check it out. But I don't. It's hard to imagine that a movie can come out now and dislodge the legacy of the original. And I can't imagine people will go to a movie that's coming out now. I don't know what it is about modern Christmas movies, but it's hard to strike that chord. Like the 90s felt like you could still create classics like Home Alone and The Miracle on 34th Street Reboot, but it's hard to believe, like predict that a generation will watch a remake of It's a Wonderful Life now and forget about the original the way we seem to have done with.
Don't think it will do. I think Christmas movies now feel very manufactured. Like I like the first Christmas Chronicles. We talked about that last
Yeah.
week, but there are parts of it that still kind of feel forced and a bit like cheap and a bit like, oh, Netflix wanted this kind of thing, so that's why kind of, and it's still good, but it just doesn't have that same kind of. It feels like it's made because they need a Christmas movie, not because somebody wants to make a Christmas movie. I think for me, the only one in recent memory I can think is an instant classic is Klaus, which obviously recommended to you many, many times last year. And did you watch it for the first time this year?
Definitely no. I watched it a couple of years ago.
No. It must be somebody else I'm thinking
Like
of.
I say,
But
you might have recommended it to me, and I clearly wasn't paying attention because otherwise I'd have told you I'd seen it. But
I mean, when do you ever pay attention to me? But
what was that, sorry?
nice one. But yeah, I think it is harder to kind of that, and I think people want to make a classic, and you can't make a classic by wanting to make a classic. You just make a classic by having a good film that everybody picks up on. No matter how hard you try, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, you aren't that guy.
Mhm. Not that guy, pal. Not that guy. But yeah, I think that's it. You kind of got to accidentally make a classic. You just need all the right ingredients, but without the ulterior motive of this has to be something that lives on. Because you're always bound to fail then. You're trying too hard, I think. Um, my category then, it's kind of, you kind of like hinted at your answer there. So I feel like I already know where this is going to go. But I had like, which movie do you think has the most rewatchability? Like, which one will you look
Um,
forward to rewatching every year?
yeah, I mean, at least Miracle on 34th Street got one category to itself.
Yeah,
Um,
it got Christmas feeling.
it got Christmas feeling, which these are
Poor
Christmas.
Edmund Gwenn didn't even get cast, and he won a fucking Oscar. So
Yeah, what a guy. I mean, these episodes are about Christmas, so who's the real winner? It's a Wonderful Life is the real winner. Let's be honest.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's. I think I do like it, but if I was to watch a Miracle on 34th Street, I would do what Disney tried to get me to do every time I searched for it was make me watch the newer one. I'm like, no, I don't want that one. Scroll across. It gave me just that one again. I was like, okay, no, I want the original. Um, whereas I think, yeah, it's a Wonderful Life. I think it's what I might do though in future. I need to make sure I say this at one point in this episode because there's one point in that film that I will skip. If it's a Wonderful Life, it really did it made my anxiety so high. It made me so frustrated. I was getting fucking angry, and I wanted to fucking punch the girl in the head when she's playing piano and like playing piano and they're arguing and what have you, and it's just so fucking loud, and she just doesn't stop. I'm like, look, I know you need to practice, love, but read the room. It just goes on and on. I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to deal with having a kid because fuck me, I really want to just fucking grab her by the legs and throw her out window.
So what you're saying is, angry, nasty George Bailey was justified. That's the version you related to.
I understand it. I understand it. He's had a bad. Nobody's even asked him how his day at work was. He's just come in and everybody's just straight on his fucking case. She's playing, and she's like, "Oh, I've got to practice for tonight." Love, you should have been practicing earlier because you sound shit. Oh, what was I saying? Yeah, I'll rewatch that, but I'll skip that bit because she really just fucking aggravated me. Let me tell you now, my kid's not having a piano.
See, do you know what? That's interesting you say that because I was saying the other day, if I could play any instrument in the world, I would want to be able to play piano. That's the one I'd like to be able to play.
Luckily, I never have to sit around your house while you try and play it. Unless these episodes become you sitting there playing piano whilst
I
discussing your
provide
answer.
a score for us at the same time in the background.
Yeah.
No, I obviously went in favor of It's a Wonderful Life for that as well because, like I said, when there's a remake that you love so much, you're not going to watch both versions every year.
No.
And we prefer the remake. It's like I'm 10 times more likely to watch Richard Attenborough's version of Miracle on 34th Street than the original. Whereas It's a Wonderful Life, it's iconic. There's a reason I think you watch any like Christmas TV show or read any like Christmas article about the best Christmas movies of all time, and if it's not number one, it's at least two or three. It's just iconic and like I've watched it like I think the first time I watched it was maybe like 3 years ago, and every year I watch it, I love it more and more. And last year was like the first time where it became my favorite Christmas movie, and then
Yeah.
this year it solidified that, and it's like firmly cemented as my number one right now. Um, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. But every time Christmas comes around, I obviously watch so many Christmas movies, but this one is one that I am always looking forward to, and especially because I just love James Stewart. Like I said, my favorite actor ever. He was just
You're
great.
not. You've not said.
Yeah, he was the GOAT for me, the GOAT. And Donna Reed, I've never seen her in anything else, and I might have to look at what she's in because she does something for me. She's great.
She is nice.
But yeah, so that brings us to an end. I usually ask you how you think this has gone.
Well, I was just going to say, are you still going to ask me? I don't know.
This is probably the biggest victory we've ever had. Um,
Probably.
it's 148 to 136 in favor of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. I mean, we decided these two because I know how much you like It's a Wonderful Life, and B, that they are like the two classic, like from that era. And we've not really done any films, like old films
No,
at
no,
all. I think for
no.
Christmas, probably about time we did that. But yeah, I think as soon as I like halfway through It's a Wonderful Life, I was like, unless Miracle on 34th Street's like really, really good, he ain't got a chance.
No,
And I knew he'd have a chance with you anyway.
no, absolutely not. Not for me.
So you just bias. So
Yeah,
you're like the judge in Miracle on 34th Street.
I
No
am.
matter, you
I
just
went
need to
in
be
with
the other one.
my own agenda, and it came out.
And I got my way. Just like
I'm
the little girl,
straight.
the little girl who didn't believe in Santa until she got a house.
Yeah, I'm not sure that sends the right message, to be honest.
Mm,
I think it was
no.
quite nice before that when she didn't get the house, but her mum was like, "You should believe in people anyway." That would have been a nice ending. I didn't need her to be like, "Actually, no, you got a house. You can believe in Santa." That's some
Yes,
lofty
I
expectations.
mean it's a nice house, but when she went inside, shit inside. Wallpaper fucking peeling off. There was a damp spot. Fucking leaves everywhere.
Kane in the corner, and we left that
Yeah,
behind.
just some. Yeah, they all like, oh my god, Santa's real, but really it's just some homeless guy living in the chimney.
Yeah, well, that is the biggest landslide we've had, and it wasn't even close. And I'm gonna say it right now, I was so like not biased towards It's a Wonderful Life, but I knew how much I preferred it. But I wasn't the one that suggested these, so I didn't know it was going to go like this. It was your idea, so I want to
Yeah,
claim innocence in that sense.
that's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah, but it's hard to argue. It's a Wonderful Life. It is what it is. It's an old timer, and I'm glad you liked it. I am. I sometimes we've done these movies like, especially like horror ones, where I'm like, this is a good film to watch, and then it's like this fucking sucks, and I'm like, oh well, that's a shame. But you liked this one.
Yeah, I think horror is very like hit and miss for me. I think let's recap our Christmas, shall we?
Yeah.
The Family Stone, what a fucking
Yeah,
horrendous
you know.
representation.
Didn't
I
like that.
like last week's both. I like both of them already, and I like this week's. Only Family Stone you got me with this
Really,
season.
really quick then, just out of nowhere, how would you
Oh,
rank all six?
interesting. Let me think what we got. So we got almost
Almost Christmas, Family Stone, Die Hard, Violent Night, Miracle on 34th Street, and It's a Wonderful Life.
is how I liked them or as Christmas movies.
Either or.
Well, no, you can't do that to me.
How you liked them?
How I liked them as Christmas.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, combine your two possibilities.
Um. Oh no,
Put you on the spot there.
I'm just I'm writing them, and then I put that there. So at number six, Family Stone, bag of wank.
Imagine my surprise.
Then Miracle at 34th Street, just because I liked it, but it's not the reboot, and I do love the reboot. I don't watch it very often, to be fair, but I do love that reboot. Richard Attenborough is great. Then I went Almost Christmas because that was a nice surprise for me. Because I was expecting after you made me watch Family Stone, I was expecting to hate that film too. But that was a nice surprise because I've not got anything against all black cast, not unlike you. And then
Excuse me, I've just bigged up It's a Wonderful Life remake. Thank you very much.
you didn't. You said I can't imagine anything ever replacing it, and basically shit on it before it's even come out. You
No,
so
but I said I'd watch it, and I'm interested.
let's move on from that conversation because
I'm
you're a horrible,
interested.
you're an horrible bastard.
That
And
quick
then
question though, before actually, I'll let you do your list first.
it's a quick.
I
I'm
just come
already in
up
the
with
middle of
different
one question.
ideas.
I'm already in the middle of one question you asked me.
Oh yeah,
And then I went Violent Night, and then I went It's a Wonderful Life, and then I went Die Hard because
yeah.
I'm sorry, but unless George taped a gun to the back of his to his bag and then shot
Shot
Potter,
Clarence.
chance.
No, for me, I think my least was um Almost Christmas. Then
There's a surprise coming from you.
no, then it was Family Stone. Those two were my least favorite in general. Then it was Violent Night. Then Miracle on 34th Street. Then Die Hard. And number one was It's a Wonderful Life. But yeah, what I was going to ask you is if you if they are obviously this new It's a Wonderful Life remake with an all black cast, what actor would you cast as George Bailey?
Oh,
If you could think of one like prominent black actor now, that's tough.
this is going to be great for the audio listener.
I know, yeah. Probably thought
Yeah.
they probably just thought they were getting like a call or something. Sometimes if like I'm listening to a podcast and the person stops speaking, I always get my phone out in case like someone's ringing me and it's pause.
Um, I don't know. Actually, nobody's kind of springing to mind.
No, it's quite a hard one.
I feel like if it was up to Hollywood, it'd probably be Kevin Hart.
Good Lord, could you imagine?
But what's his name?
Oh
Oh, I
yeah,
wish I shut up. Tyler Henry? Is it Tyler Henry? He was in Godzilla and he was in that bullet and he's in Bullet Train.
oh, I know who you mean. He was also in the Eternals.
Tyler something.
It's Tyler like Henry, not Williams, I don't think. Tyler Henry. Oh fuck. No, is it Tyrese Henry something?
Mel, maybe.
I ain't got a fuck clue. I'm gonna have to look it up.
No, we both look bad.
I know, yeah. You're bringing people up that you don't even know. Why are you acting like you know?
Well, in my defense, and to be fair, anybody who's ever met me will vouch for this. I've got a terrible fucking memory.
Yeah, me too. You know that. Brian Tyree Henry.
I was close.
Yeah, so Brian's his first
Sorry.
name.
Either that or Donald Glover.
Yeah, I think Donald Glover would be good. I would like Donald Glover. Or like Lakeith Stanfield. I think he's good. Daniel
Who's
Kaluuya. Let's just go action.
who's Lakeith Stanfield?
He's the one from the new Haunted Mansion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, that's probably the worst possible film I could use to describe who Lakeith Stanfield is. But he also did oh, what was it called? He was in Knives Out. He's like a
Yeah,
police
detective.
officer in Knives Out.
Hmm.
And what else was he in? He was in.
No, yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he was in Judas the First and the Black Messiah, which is obviously a really well received film. He's good. Like I said, Daniel Kaluuya, I'm a big fan of, so I won't mind him either. Or let's just go balls to the wall, Hollywood it, and go Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
That's as Hollywood as you get.
Hmm.
Or just don't care about age and cast Denzel.
Oh yeah,
Denzel in like his 60s, 70s has these like 4-year-old children just because. But he also has to do what he also has to do what James Stewart does and play himself as a 20-year-old at the high school
yeah.
table.
I was literally just gonna say you can have Denzel as a 20-year-old. You're like, he's 20, but he looks about 40.
Yeah, that's what they could do with it. But yeah, that brings this episode to an end. That's our last Christmas episode. We've already got something lined up for next week, which our episode will drop the day after Christmas,
Which is
a certain day.
boxing.
It's a what? Boxing Day. It is. Not that that's necessarily a hint to what will be coming, but yeah, Christmas is over.
Oh,
Um,
just as we I put a poll out on last week's episode of if we should really have done this at the beginning of the episode, but what's everybody's favorite preferred? Who would their preferred winner be over Violent Night or Die Hard? And Die Hard won a lot more than Violent Night did as their favorite Christmas movie. So
yeah,
we'll see.
that's
We'll
fair.
see. We'll see. If I remember at the beginning next week, we'll see which one takes the spot this week.
It's going to be really awkward if 1 week we get it wrong in the eyes of everyone else. But we march to the beat of our own drums, so
Yeah, but
everyone else
don't
can eat
forget
shit.
to like and subscribe.
Yeah, yeah, do that if you like this. Respect to you all, but also eat shit if you disagree. But yeah, feel free to like and subscribe to this video on YouTube if you are watching there. If you're listening on any of the audio services, then please leave a nice review and a 5-star rating. That'd be lovely. Um, Also follow us on Instagram because they've put some pretty sick things on there.
Doing my best work.
Yeah, straight up. Like it's a career for you, I think. I think you
I
should
think
move on from what you're doing. Just
I'm not
create
gonna lie.
those.
The amount of time it takes me sometimes, it feels like a fucking career. And then I think to myself, and you know what? And then I think to myself, no, to be fair, it's an even amount of work. And then all I remember you do is you take everything that I do, put a video on top, and post it.
Yeah, but it takes ages. Like it's so annoying sometimes. Like how long it takes to export is so
Well, this
frustrating.
week, this week, I don't know if we're gonna. I was going to speak to you in a second about like making everything black and white, but this week I've made all of like the post black and white because these films are black and white, and I thought that'll be easy. I'll just save the picture and then change it, put a black and white filter on. No, that looked like shit. So I have to go through each individual item, pick a better color, like change every fucking item to a different color. I'm like, oh, it's taking so long.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we won't be doing that. We're not that committed.
No, I've already done it. It's turning this
Oh,
video to black and white. It's just us two. We need to turn to black and white now.
yeah, I need to figure out how to do that.
Filter, black and white. It's
I'll
fine.
have a look. I'll see if when it's
Saturation,
exported, we can do
saturation
it.
zero.
You are?
Saturation zero.
Yeah,
Brightness
I'll have to give
maybe
it
a
a go.
little bit.
Give
Not
it.
brightness on your camera because you won't be able to see your face anymore because it's got light shining. Tell you, we need to get you a ring light.
I know, yeah. But also, like, I feel like I'm getting lower each week.
You are
It's
just
like my chin's gonna start being cut off. Like, it's like, gee, every time I look across and I see myself, I'm always like, right.
you can
And
get
then
your boost.
in a minute, I'm back down slouched, like, oh shit. Like, I don't know what's going on. Um,
You need to get your boosty. Anyway, enough of
yeah,
end of it.
I need a bumper seat. But
Have a
yeah,
good Christmas.
yeah. Have a nice Christmas. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah,
I'm saying it to you and to everyone else. I hope everyone has a good Christmas. I'm gonna have a good Christmas. I'm very excited for my Christmas. I hope yours is good too.
same. And then one more episode, and then it's our end of year one, which I loved our end of year one last year. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Talk about some good movies. We're obviously doing movies that were released in the UK in 2024 as well, because there's a certain one that was released in 2023 that I wasn't allowed to use last year. I mean, I hadn't watched it yet, but we weren't allowed to do it last year because of the year it
we
came.
already knew. We already knew.
Yeah, we knew it was what was going to happen. But there are some really good movies this year, so I'm looking forward to doing that at the end of the month. So have a wonderful Christmas, one and all, and we shall see you back next week for Boxing Day. Hint, hint. Peace out. So like, even that, my fingers like I'm like down here. Get up.